Right, and you mentioned Raelvi. Now, he has reacted. He says the courageous Iranian people have paid a heavy price for freedom thanks to President Donald Trump, and their hour of liberation is at hand. I lay out my plan for an orderly, transparent transition to a democratic Iran. Now, he's thanked Donald Trump, and he's also laying out a plan for orderly, transparent transition to democratic Iran. Do you think is he waiting for support from Donald Trump to actually go and take over? And do you think the Iranians will accept, and will Donald Trump support Raelvi?
Well, orderly and transparent is very nice, but the IRGC is not likely to cooperate. That's number one. Mr. Trump has avoided sending troops on the ground, which makes it more difficult for the United States, or frankly anyone else, to really order what's going on in Iran. Whether, as I say, the people will coalesce around a democratic leader, or whether the IRGC or maybe Larijani or someone else who survived these attacks on Khamenei takes over, you've got to remember, I mean, it's a very long time since 1979. I mean, we're talking about 47 years of a regime that has stuck its tentacles into Iran. The IRGC is the biggest economic power inside Iran. They're not just going to disappear. And so it's not at all clear to me where this thing goes. It would be nice if they become a democracy, but being nice doesn't necessarily mean that it'll happen.
Right, and considering the fact, of course, I'm not comparing Venezuela to Iran. Of course, they are two very different countries. But considering the fact that Trump has been calling, time and again for a regime change, and something that he wanted to take out Khamenei for long before, even last year in the 12-day war. If that is if that is what Trump is going for, will he not support in a regime change?
Well, I mean, he might want to, but you can't change a regime with aircraft or with missiles fired from naval warships. That's not how you change a regime. Somebody's got to go in and take over. And if we're reluctant, and I think the American people would be very reluctant to send troops in on the ground, certainly not after what happened in Iraq, then it has to come from within. And we just don't know if the opposition has enough strength. Now, there's one other factor here. Nobody's talking about the Iranian army. The Iranian army also has tanks, also has guns, and they are rivals of the IRGC. And they've tended to be non-political. Where are they going to come in? That might be a deciding factor.
And considering that, do you think Iran has enough? Because the attacks are not stopping. Israel is still attacking Iran. How long can Iran actually go, considering the fact that they also have to take care of the leadership now that Khamenei is gone? How long can Iran stand, according to you?
Well, look, Iran, countries can hold out much longer than people allow for them. Think of Ukraine. Putin thought he could take over Ukraine in a week. And now we're into the 5th year of the war. And Russia is so much bigger than Ukraine. Everybody thought that, there was no way they could hold out. When people are defending their country against enemies, they very often hold out. It's not a matter like in Venezuela of just kidnapping a leader and everything changes. It's a very, very different situation. Plus the fact that the Persians in particular and Iranians in general are a very proud people. This is a very old civilization. It's like yours in India. They've been around 10 times as long, and you've been around 10 times as long as the United States. I don't think they're going to fold overnight. Now, whether they will become a democracy, we can hope for that. But there are limits to what we can do. And frankly, even if we send troops on the ground, that doesn't mean that they would succeed. As you're showing in your pictures, the regime does have a lot of supporters.
And talking of supporters, so would they go for? Is there any chance of diplomacy, considering the fact, back channel, diplomacy that could take place, considering the fact that whenever Foreign Minister Araghchi, when he goes for a plan, he always used to take, it has to be approved by the Iranian regime. Considering the fact that Khamenei is not there, would there be any attempt of back channel talks?
Well, there might be. If Mr. Trump can come away with this and say, look, I've now achieved much more than Obama did, because that's kind of his measure of success. And the Iranians are willing to make some concession, any concession, when it comes to the missiles. They could also make a concession when it comes to the proxies, because Hamas is weakened and Hezbollah is weakened. So it isn't like they've got strong proxies. They might make a concession there. If they can give some concessions to the president, and that combination plus getting rid of Khamenei, Trump can say, hey, look, I achieved a lot. It's possible they'll be talking. Remember, you know very well, the Iranians are very, very good diplomats. They're the people who invented chess. You cannot rule them out.